to CECIMO interview on education and training. Today, we have the pleasure to have with us Mr. Antonio Ranieri, Head of Department from VET and Skills at CEDEFOP. So, my first question, Mr. Ranieri, is, as you know, training the workforce can be costly and it impacts production processes and competitiveness. How can SMEs, which often lack the resources of larger companies, effectively implement training programs to maintain a competitive workforce?
Well, this question actually goes directly to the core of the skills challenge we are facing today. Of course, a first answer could be, if we don't have much resources, we need to be resourceful. So there are actually several approaches that can be adopted with a comparatively limited investment by companies. To begin with, getting a better understanding of skills needs and human capital potential in the company. So listening to employees, suppliers, customers. This may sound obvious, but for instance, from your survey, it seems that employers often struggle to understand the training needs of their employees. But also then, for instance, use collaboration and teamwork to reinforce knowledge sharing and peer learning, establish learning objectives that can be achieved through micro-learning, blended learning to minimize disruptions in the company. Consider collaboration with partners within the value chain also as an opportunity for knowledge exchange. Finds way to integrate learning opportunities into daily routine and business activities. I mean, there are many good practices that can foster a culture of continuous learning and do not require huge investments. However, I don't want to evade what is, in my understanding, the heart of your question, because we know that investments in human capital often produces tangible results only in the medium or long term. And that for several reasons, some long-term macro trends, actually return on investment has become increasingly uncertain, especially difficult so when it comes to small and medium enterprises. It means that companies cannot go it alone, and that's why creating, and this is a point on which CEDEFOP has been insisting for a long time, creating learning opportunities for adults has become today one of the areas with the highest demand for public policy intervention. CEDEFOP research shows that helping micro and small enterprises to increase training goes beyond, is important, but goes beyond the simple provision of financial incentives to include structural support instruments. First, of course, targeted support, helping companies to identify and meet their training needs as shaped by their business activities, work organization, skills use. Second, policies offering mediated support for training, such as supporting innovation, for instance, we see that can be sometimes more effective, triggering changes in work organization and increase the skills used at the workplace. And finally, promoting cooperation in educational outreach between companies and public authorities, training providers, public employment services, and so forth. Although training in such cases tailored mainly to the needs of the learner, companies actually can, especially small and medium enterprises, can collectively benefit from expanded skills and higher level of motivation of their workforce.
Thank you, Mr. Ranieri, very much for your answer. Our second question is, if you have seen our CECIMO skills report indicates that many industries face labor shortages as manufacturing careers are often misunderstood, leading to a low number of young people pursuing vocational education. Therefore, what strategies would you suggest to attract young talent to the manufacturing sector? And can you provide a few successful examples?
In terms of, it is important to say maybe a general thing that the skills challenge we see today in manufacturing is largely the outcome of a long-term process starting in the 80s of downsizing, internationalization, delocalization, that in many cases has broken down the relationship between the industry and its territory. The rise of new technologies, automation, etc., has exacerbated the weakening of the collaborative relationship between industry and the local community, and ultimately between the individual company and its potential workforce. Now the tide may be turning in a sense because we are recognizing the strategic importance of certain manufacturing activities, also because of the geopolitical shifts and the reorganization of the global value chains, and the need for greater strategic autonomy in energy, raw materials, intermediate products. So all crucial for achieving our climate goals and digital transformation in Europe. So I'm telling this because the renewed emphasis on reinforcing the European industrial dimension offers a great opportunity to rebuild the system of relationships I was mentioning, of course, on a completely new basis and take into account the new contextual conditions. If organizations choose to refocus their competitiveness on effectively utilizing human capital, they can also leverage the local labor market to co-create the specific skills, knowledge, behaviors they require, and become also more attractive in a substantial sense. It's also true that we have an issue, as you was mentioning in the question, an issue in the way young people perceive manufacturing jobs. Dismantling outdated perceptions is not that easy. And the reality of advanced, in my view, I mean, the reality of advanced manufacturing today has the potential to attract a new generation of skilled talent. Targeted strategies, fresh approaches to showcase the innovative nature of the industry, diverse career paths, and the value of vocational education and training can inspire young people into the future of manufacturing. In a sense, you were asking examples. I mean, in a sense, apprenticeships program adopted, for instance, by German companies remain among, we don't need to invent completely new things, remain among the best examples we have in Europe of how it's possible to offer young people a structured and attractive path to a successful career in manufacturing. But I mean, for a different model, a different example of approach, for instance, Skills USA, it's a good example of how it's possible to promote career and technical education through competitions, workshops, leadership development programs, and so forth. But there are, I think, several good examples, actually. What is important is to take seriously the need of a better understanding of young people's skills, their potential, and most of all, their expectations and aspirations, and to recognize that in a rapidly changing economy and flexible labor markets, young people have less incentive to invest in job-specific skills, let alone firm-specific skills. So let's move away from the idea that we can find ready-made talents on the market, adopting short-term hiring practices. Can be successful sometimes at an individual company level, but we cannot collectively succeed in doing that.
Thank you, Mr. Ranieri. And as you mentioned before, automation that has quite changed the job market also. So how do you think that automation, including also AI and robotics, will affect the job markets in the near future? And what strategies can be employed to encourage employees in advanced manufacturing to participate more in lifelong opportunities, in order to keep up with this rapid technological change?
Yeah, we will be in the position to tell you more in a short time, but I mean, to explore the anticipated impact of automation, CEDEFOP is currently working on a new wave of research, including dedicated surveys and a series of foresight exercise in 4 sectors, including in the additive manufacturing sector. But I mean, we have done some work already in the recent past, and while some early prediction painted a quite grim picture of widespread job displacement, suggesting that nearly half of all jobs in advanced economies could be automated, recent studies offer, in general, a less alarming outlook. For instance, CEDEFOP European Skills and Jobs Survey provides a picture more of job transformation rather than of job replacement. We estimated that about 14% of European employment can be at risk, a high risk of machine replacement, although a good 40% of jobs face high possibility of specific tasks being affected, a risk that is relatively higher in the manufacturing. Apart from future predictions, CEDEFOP survey collected information also about the actual automation impact of new digital technologies in a very broad sense. And the main effect at the time of the survey a couple of years ago was that new task creation as an effect was the most important. I mean, only about 4-5% of workers faced essentially task distraction. About 9% experienced only task creation, while 22% experienced both some task displacement along with the new task generation. So, of course, are numbers that in terms of need of adaptation are important, but is not this tragic perspective. A similar picture is emerging now from our new CEDEFOP artificial intelligence skill survey. So a survey specifically on artificial intelligence, fresh data collected early this year, which shows that about 15% of workers are afraid that they may completely lose their job due to artificial intelligence. It's a perception of the workers, especially people engaged in routine jobs, precarious jobs, and in middle to low-skilled occupations. Again, a higher share of workers declare that artificial intelligence has an impact on their job tasks. So, while 30% of those who use artificial intelligence experience some task distraction, a bit more, 41% had to do some new task because of artificial intelligence. And importantly, for almost 70% of workers, the main effect of artificial intelligence is to enable them to do their tasks faster. So for the time being, quite positive, because I mean, overall, our findings highlight the significant need for upskilling and reskilling of European workers, and that is clear the potential of artificial intelligence technologies to foster efficiency and productivity gains. On the other hand, we have not seen so far a large expansion of targeted initiatives in European countries. Only few countries in our knowledge, Austria, Germany, Luxembourg, Slovakia, have recently adapted their national strategies about lifelong learning or continuing training to accompany and shape the digital transformation.
Thank you, Mr. Ranieri. Indeed, upskilling and reskilling, it's vital nowadays, but I guess it also takes some time for countries.
It's a long way to go.
Exactly, yeah. Yes. So my last question also would be, how important do you think public and private partnerships are in dealing with skill shortages in advanced manufacturing? And can you share, please, a few examples of successful collaborations that have significantly improved skills developments in the industry?
Yeah, as I mentioned before, it's important to acknowledge that the skills challenge we observe at the company level, I mean, is also the reflection of some general trends. I tend always to frame a bit general trends, I mean, in the global economy, which have dramatically increased over time the demand for higher levels of skills and adaptability, as we know, and at the same time complicated the relationship between demand and supply of skills within sectors and expanded the disparities between countries and regions, even within the European space. And that's why companies cannot go it alone, as I said before, and public policy is crucial in the area. But public policy doesn't necessarily equate to direct and predominant state intervention, as it is in the case with initial education and training, for instance. Rather, it refers to public intervention capable of creating a system of incentives and conveniences, and above all, stimulate the coordination of all interested actors, private and public actors at the local, national, and even European level when it comes to some strategic sectors, such as advanced manufacturing. Considering our role from our observatory, I have to mention the Pact for Skills launched in 2020 as part of the European Skills Agenda. As a good example, the priority of this initiative is precisely to support a collective action on skills development by all stakeholders through skills partnership, a wide range of stakeholders, because national, regional, local companies, social partners, cross-industry and sectoral organizations, Chamber of Commerce, public employment services, education and training providers. So they are all called upon to work together to address the risk of coordination failures, as we say, typical of skills and vocational training policy, and make clear commitments. So several skills alliances have been launched and are working, demonstrating the potential of collaboration in addressing skills shortages and promoting upskilling. One of these, for instance, is the Automotive Skills Alliance. We know that the automotive industry is transforming, including because of the shift towards the green, the digital mobility. Many jobs are at risk, and the industry is struggling at the same time to attract qualified people for new roles. So the Alliance is implementing a strategy of upskilling and reskilling, a target of 5% of the workforce each year by 2030 to maximize competitiveness, job retention, that is an issue, new job opportunities, so attracting young people. So all this to say that if it is possible to reinforce policy coordination at the European level, all the more so at the national and regional level, where it's possible to work, and we should work to develop well-functioning skills governance system. So going a bit beyond an alliance, but creating a systematic approach.